Ethan Carter was a man who had everything: money, power, and influence, but little else. His penthouse overlooked Manhattan's skyline, its floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing a world he had conquered but rarely enjoyed. At 45, Ethan was known as a titan of industry, his name synonymous with success. Yet, behind closed doors, his life felt hollow. He spent most of his days in boardrooms or on conference calls, leaving little room for anything or anyone else. The one person who should have mattered most was Liam, his 14-year-old son. Cerebral palsy had left Liam wheelchair-bound, requiring constant care that Ethan often delegated to nurses and therapists. It wasn't that Ethan didn't love his son. It was more that he didn't know how to be present for him. Work had always been his escape, a way to avoid confronting the guilt he felt over not being there when Liam needed him most. One Saturday afternoon, Ethan made an unusual decision. Instead of holing up in his office as usual, he took Liam out to lunch. "Just us," he'd said, though the words felt awkward coming from him. They ended up at a modest diner on the outskirts of the city, a place Ethan would never normally visit. The vinyl booths were cracked, the coffee mugs chipped, and the air smelled faintly of grease. But there was something comforting about it, even if Ethan couldn't quite put his finger on why. Liam seemed hesitant at first, unsure what to make of this rare outing. As they sat down, Ethan fidgeted with the menu, feeling out of place. When their food arrived, Liam struggled to hold his fork steady. His frustration was palpable, but Ethan froze, unsure how to help. That's when she appeared, a young waitress named Sophia Martinez. Without hesitation, she stepped in, gently guiding Liam's hand until he could manage on his own. Her kindness caught Ethan off guard, stirring something deep within him. As they left the diner, Ethan slipped his business card onto the table along with an unusually generous tip. Something about Sophia's quiet compassion stayed with him long after they'd gone. Sophia Martinez had learned early in life that kindness wasn't just a choice, it was survival. At 24, she carried the weight of her family on her shoulders, working double shifts at the diner to keep a roof over their heads. Her parents' sudden passing 3 years ago had left her as the sole guardian of her younger siblings, Mia, 12, and Diego, 8. The loss still lingered like an open wound, but Sophia didn't have the luxury of wallowing. Every day was a battle to make ends meet, and every night was spent worrying about tomorrow. The diner was her second home, its cracked vinyl seats and flickering fluorescent lights familiar comforts amidst chaos. Sophia moved through the cramped space with practiced ease, balancing trays of coffee and plates of greasy fries without missing a beat. She smiled at customers even when her feet ached and her patience wore thin because she knew tips could mean groceries for the week or new shoes for Diego. Benevenness came naturally to her, not out of obligation, but because she believed people deserved grace, even when life felt anything but kind. Still, there were moments when the weight of it all threatened to crush her. Late nights after work, sitting alone in their tiny apartment, she'd stare at old nursing textbooks stacked neatly on the shelf. They were relics of a dream she'd put on hold when her parents died. Becoming a nurse had always been her goal, but between rent, bills, and raising 2 kids, chasing that dream felt impossible. Sometimes, she wondered if she'd ever escape the cycle of barely getting by. That Saturday afternoon started like any other. Busy tables, impatient customers, and endless refills. When Ethan and Liam walked in, she barely gave them a second glance. Just another pair of strangers passing through her world. But then she noticed the boy struggling with his fork, frustration etched across his face. Without thinking, she stepped in, her hands steady and voice soft as she helped him regain control. It wasn't heroic. It was instinctual. Yet, the gratitude in the father's eyes made her pause. For a brief moment, she saw something beyond exhaustion, a flicker of hope. After they left, Sophia spotted the business card tucked under the edge of the table. Curiosity tugged at her as she picked it up. Ethan Carter, it read, along with a phone number. A billionaire? In her diner? She almost laughed at the absurdity of it. What could someone like him possibly want with her? Still, she slipped the card into her apron pocket, unsure why she kept it, but unable to throw it away. Over the next few days, Sophia found herself staring at the card during quiet moments at work. Financial strain gnawed at her. Their electricity bill was overdue, and Mia needed new school supplies, but pride held her back. Asking for help wasn't easy, especially from someone like Ethan. Finally, desperation outweighed doubt. One evening, after tucking Mia and Diego into bed, she dialed the number scribbled on the card. Her heart raced as the phone rang, each tone amplifying her fear of rejection. "Hello," Ethan's voice answered, calm and measured. "Mr. Carter." "Hi, this is Sophia Martinez," she stammered, clutching the phone tightly. "From the diner." There was a pause before he replied, "Of course, Sophia. I'm glad you called." What followed was an offer so unexpected it took her breath away. Ethan proposed not only financial assistance for her family, but also funding for her education. He wanted to help her become a nurse. Sophia listened in stunned silence, torn between gratitude and skepticism. Was this real, or some fleeting act of charity meant to ease his conscience? "I don't want handouts," she said finally, her voice firm despite her racing thoughts. "If you're serious about helping, I need to earn it. I won't let my siblings or myself owe anyone more than we can repay." Ethan respected her resolve. "Fair enough," he said. "This isn't charity, Sophia. Consider it an investment. In you, in your dreams, and maybe in mine too." By the end of the call, Sophia felt a mix of emotions. Relief, disbelief, and a spark of hope she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Maybe, just maybe, things were about to change for her, for Mia and Diego, and for the future she'd once thought lost forever. The next few weeks were a whirlwind for Sophia. After meeting Ethan at his office, a sleek, glass-walled skyscraper that felt worlds away from her diner, she began attending online nursing courses funded by him. The classes were challenging, but she threw herself into them with determination, knowing this was her chance to build a better future. At the same time, Ethan hired her as Liam's primary caregiver. It wasn't just about practicality. He wanted someone who understood kindness, patience, and resilience, qualities Sophia embodied effortlessly. From their first official day together, Sophia clicked with Liam. She didn't treat him like a fragile child or a burden. Instead, she saw him as a bright, curious teenager who happened to need extra support. Their bond grew quickly. Sophia introduced Liam to new hobbies. An adaptive art set became his favorite pastime, and together they painted vibrant landscapes that filled the once stark walls of Ethan's penthouse. On weekends, she wheeled him around Central Park, pointing out squirrels and street performers while sharing stories of her own childhood. For the first time in years, Liam laughed freely, his eyes lighting up in a way Ethan hadn't seen before. Ethan watched all of this unfold with a mix of awe and guilt. He admired Sophia's ability to connect with Liam so naturally, something he had struggled to do for years. Yet, there were moments when doubt crept in. Was he doing enough? Could money ever compensate for the years he'd missed? These questions lingered, unresolved, as he tried to find his footing as both a father and an employer. As weeks turned into months, cracks began to show. Ethan's work demands started creeping back into his life, pulling him away from Liam and Sophia. Late nights at the office became frequent again, and breakfasts with Liam dwindled to hurried goodbyes. Sophia noticed the change immediately. One evening, after tucking Liam into bed, she confronted Ethan in the study. "You're slipping," she said bluntly, her arms crossed. "All this progress we've made, it means nothing if you're not here to see it." Ethan bristled at first, defensive. "I'm providing for him, aren't I? Paying for everything he needs." "That's not what he needs," Sophia shot back. "He needs you. Not your money, not your guilt. He needs his dad." Her words hit hard, cutting through the armor Ethan had built around himself. For a long moment, he sat silently, staring at the papers scattered across his desk. Finally, he nodded. "You're right," he admitted quietly. "I've been selfish. Again." From that night on, Ethan vowed to prioritize Liam. He scaled back his workload, delegating more responsibilities to his team. Slowly but surely, he began showing up, not just physically but emotionally. Family dinners replaced takeout trays, and bedtime stories returned to Liam's nightly routine. Sophia smiled to herself as she watched Ethan try, fail, and try again. His efforts weren't perfect, but they were genuine, and that mattered more than anything. With Ethan making an effort to be present, the household dynamic shifted. Sophia no longer felt like an outsider looking in. She became part of their family in every way except blood. Weekends were spent exploring museums, baking cookies in the kitchen, or simply sitting together watching movies. Liam flourished under the combined care of Sophia and Ethan. His confidence soared, and he began expressing himself more openly, through art, laughter, and even occasional sass. One afternoon, during a painting session, he proudly declared, "This is my masterpiece," holding up a colorful abstract piece. Sophia laughed, hugging him tightly. "It's incredible, Liam. You're going to be famous one day." Even Ethan found joy in these moments. Watching Liam beam with pride reminded him of what truly mattered: connection, love, and presence. He realized now that success wasn't measured by boardroom victories but by the smiles of those closest to him. But Sophia's journey wasn't without its struggles. Balancing caregiving, schoolwork, and her siblings' needs tested her limits daily. There were late nights spent studying while Mia and Diego slept, early mornings prepping lunches, and endless juggling acts. Despite the exhaustion, she refused to give up. Every step forward felt like proof that she could reclaim the dreams she'd put on hold. Just as things seemed stable, a new challenge arose. Sophia's grades began slipping due to the overwhelming demands of her schedule. When Ethan noticed, he offered to hire additional help for Mia and Diego so she could focus on school. But Sophia hesitated, torn between accepting assistance and maintaining her independence. "It's not charity," Ethan assured her. "Think of it as teamwork. We're all in this together now." Reluctantly, Sophia agreed, and the added support made a world of difference. With fewer responsibilities at home, she poured herself into her studies, excelling in ways she hadn't thought possible. Meanwhile, Ethan continued learning from Sophia, adopting her philosophy of leading with empathy and patience. By the end of the semester, Sophia earned top marks in all her classes. As she celebrated this milestone with Ethan and Liam, she realized how far they'd all come. What had started as a chance encounter in a diner had transformed 3 lives forever. They weren't just employer and employee or caregiver and patient. They were a family, forged through shared struggles and mutual respect. 2 years passed in a blur of late-night study sessions, early mornings at the hospital for clinical rotations, and countless moments of doubt followed by triumph. Sophia poured every ounce of her energy into becoming a nurse, driven not just by ambition but by the promise she'd made to herself, to create a better life for Mia, Diego, and everyone who depended on her. The day of her graduation arrived like a dream. Standing in her cap and gown, surrounded by classmates and professors, Sophia felt a surge of pride she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. As she walked across the stage to receive her diploma, tears streamed down her face. Not just hers, but also Mia's and Diego's, who cheered loudly from the audience. Ethan and Liam sat beside them, clapping enthusiastically, their faces beaming with pride. Afterward, Ethan hosted a small celebration at his penthouse. The once dark space was now filled with warmth. Liam's paintings adorned the walls, and laughter echoed through the rooms. During speeches, Ethan raised his glass to Sophia. "You've taught me what it means to lead with heart," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm honored to have played even a small part in your journey." Sophia smiled, her eyes glistening. "Thank you, Mr. Carter, for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. But this isn't just my victory. It belongs to all of us. We built something beautiful together." Liam chimed in, holding up a juice box like a toast. "To Sophia, the best nurse ever." Everyone laughed, and for a moment, the weight of their struggles melted away, replaced by pure joy. While Sophia transformed her own life, Ethan underwent a metamorphosis of his own. He no longer measured success by profit margins or boardroom accolades but by the strength of his relationships. With Sophia's guidance, he learned to slow down, listen, and truly engage with Liam. Weekends became sacred family time. They explored museums, attended concerts, and spent lazy afternoons playing board games. Ethan discovered Liam's sharp wit and infectious laugh, qualities he'd missed during years of emotional distance. In turn, Liam began opening up more, sharing his hopes, fears, and dreams without hesitation. One particularly poignant moment came during a wheelchair-accessible hike organized by Sophia. As they stood overlooking a serene lake, Liam turned to Ethan and said, "Dad, I'm glad we're doing stuff like this now. It makes me happy." Ethan's throat tightened as he replied, "Me too, buddy. More than you'll ever know." Their bond deepened further when Ethan started attending Liam's therapy sessions, learning techniques to assist him physically and emotionally. Watching Ethan take an active role in Liam's care filled Sophia with pride. She often caught herself thinking how different things might have been if fate hadn't brought them together that day in the diner. Through it all, Ethan realized that true wealth wasn't found in bank accounts or luxury cars. It was in the love and connection he shared with Liam and Sophia. For the first time in years, he felt whole. As Sophia settled into her new role as a registered nurse, she continued working part-time for Ethan and Liam, unwilling to sever the ties that bound them. Her presence remained a constant source of comfort and inspiration for both father and son. Together, they formed a unique family dynamic, one built not on blood, but on mutual respect, gratitude, and love. Mia and Diego thrived under Sophia's care, excelling in school and dreaming big thanks to the stability she provided. On weekends, they joined Ethan, Liam, and Sophia for outings, blending seamlessly into their unconventional yet loving household. One evening, as they gathered around the dining table for a home-cooked meal, Ethan reflected aloud. "Do you remember that diner?" he asked, smiling at Sophia. "If it weren't for you stepping in that day, none of this would have happened." Sophia shook her head modestly. "It wasn't just me. You chose to reach out to make a change. That's what matters." Liam chimed in, grinning mischievously. "And now we're stuck with each other forever." They all laughed, knowing he was right. Their lives were forever intertwined, shaped by kindness, resilience, and the belief that even the smallest acts could spark monumental transformations. As the night drew to a close, Ethan looked around the table, at Sophia's radiant smile, Liam's animated gestures, Mia and Diego's giggles, and felt a profound sense of peace. He had everything he needed, not because of what he owned but because of whom he loved. In that moment, they weren't just individuals bound by circumstance. They were a family, forged through compassion and strengthened by shared experiences. And nothing, not hardship, loss, or doubt, could break that bond. Sophia stood on the balcony of Ethan's penthouse, looking out over the glittering city skyline. It was hard to believe how much had changed in just a few years. From struggling to make ends meet at the diner to becoming a registered nurse, she had come so far, and yet, it wasn't just about her achievements. What truly mattered was the family she'd gained along the way. Inside, Ethan and Liam were playing a board game with Mia and Diego, their laughter spilling out into the night air. The scene warmed Sophia's heart. She thought back to that fateful day in the diner, the moment she'd stepped in to help Liam, and marveled at how one small act of kindness had set everything in motion. Ethan had learned to be present, to value relationships over material success, and to embrace vulnerability as a strength rather than a weakness. Liam, once hesitant and reserved, now radiated confidence and joy, thanks in large part to Sophia's unwavering support. And Sophia herself? She had reclaimed her dreams, proving that even the heaviest burdens could be lifted with determination and a little help from others. As she turned to join them, Sophia felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the life she'd built, for the people who had become her family, and for the reminder that compassion could transform lives in ways no one ever expected. They weren't perfect. They still faced challenges, disagreements, and moments of doubt. But together they were stronger. In the end, it wasn't wealth or status that defined them. It was the love, trust, and connection they shared. And as they sat together under the soft glow of the living room lights, laughing and talking late into the night, it was clear that their bond would endure, unshaken by time or circumstance.